So would you say that in the hybrid warfare, the first goal is to make the nation doubt its defenders?
Exactly. That's the prime goal. That's the prime target. Once we say hybrid warfare, because once it's warfare, that means it's something to do with the militaries. In hybrid warfare, you try and tell the people and make them believe that the country and the military probably is going to collapse. We are at absolute low, and we are not able to fight it out. Our economy is going down the drain. So these all concepts are part of hybrid warfare, where you actually make the people believe.
So it's basically the brain, which is the battlefield.
It is the brain. The brain is a target. The people are the target, and they make you believe. They make you believe that the country, the economy, the military, they're not working anymore.
Is India a state sponsor of terrorism?
For sure.
If Pakistan's army stepped back today, how many months before chaos?
I think I cannot give you a timeline, but I think their involvement right now is very important.
Is the UN just a spectator in Kashmir?
Spectator, I would call it a cheer girl. I mean, they're just cheering it.
Thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
My first question to you will be pertaining to the hybrid warfare. The invisible invasion, according to me, that Pakistan must crush before it actually crushes us, God forbid. My first question, if hybrid warfare is just a conspiracy, then why has every major military doctrine, including NATO's, identified it as the future of war?
First of all, we have to understand what is hybrid warfare. It's a new term. It's not a new term, but it's probably more relevant now. There's a conventional warfare where you exactly know your enemies. I mean, if an enemy is across the border, you know what is coming up against you, what equipment, what military hardware he has. So it comes in the domain of the conventional warfare. But once we say it's a hybrid warfare includes the conventional and sub-conventional warfare, where there are certain elements which starts playing and get an ingress into the people of the country, into the system of the country, and they start to make you realize that perhaps we are not capable enough to fight the war. And it could be, the hybrid warfare could be a cyber warfare also, could be a psychological warfare also. So all the terms comes in hybrid warfare. That's why we call it as an invisible warfare.
Right.
Because you exactly cannot see your enemy, but it is playing its role. So you got to be very cautious. So there are certain measures how you counter it, but it is very much in play, and it's very much irrelevant nowadays.
So would you say that in the hybrid warfare, the first goal is to make the nation doubt its defenders?
Exactly. That's the prime goal. That's the prime target. Once we say hybrid warfare, because once it's warfare, that means it's something to do with the militaries. So in hybrid warfare, you try and tell the people and make them believe that the country and the military probably is going to collapse. We are at absolute low, and we are not able to fight it out. Our economy is going down the drain. So these all concepts are part of hybrid warfare, where you actually make the people believe it's a non-kinetic, sub-conventional prong of the strategy by any country, where you try and make the people actually, they're very important. If you as a citizen of a country start believing that our economy is drowning, we're going down the drain, our military is not capable to fight it out, our impression or the overall structure of the country is collapsing. So it gives you a very demoralizing effect.
Absolutely.
So that's what the hybrid warfare does. So it is sub-conventional, non-kinetic prong of the strategy, which is very much relevant now. And that is how they make the people believe that the military probably will not be able to defend you, which is wrong.
So it's basically the brain, which is the battlefield.
It is the brain. The brain is a target. The people are the target, and they make you believe. They make you believe that the country, the economy, the military, they're not working anymore.
Right. My next question to you. When the foreign media paints Pakistan's military as a threat to democracy, would you call it journalism or would you call it battlefield preparation?
Now, you have to understand one thing, that why the foreign media would call military a threat to the democracy. You know, almost 1/3 or 1/4 of the countries in the world have hybrid regimes in terms of democracy.
Really?
But they don't talk about it. You must not have heard about it. But in Pakistan, case of Pakistan, they will always talk about democracy. Our democracy will take time to get mature. That is the best way of governance. I fully agree with it. But there are so many factors where the military has to get involved in the democracy to make it functional because of our peculiar obtaining environments.
Right.
I will further go in details why I'm saying this. I'll
Right.
qualify my statement. But
Perfect.
you know, it has to do a lot. You know, the foreign media has a very set agenda to target our democracy while aligning it with the military's involvement in the democracy.
Right. If hybrid war is invisible, then how do you explain the foreign funding for anti-state narratives that are inside Pakistan?
Now, the anti-state elements are available or present in everywhere. I mean, in every country has to, you know, counter them. But in case of Pakistan, we have two disturbed provinces where our enemy is actually trying to play with those people who has some dissenting views. Now, we have to figure out and differentiate between those people who have certain dissenting views and those who are hardcore anti-Pakistan people.
Right.
So what the Indians or what the anti-Pakistan people are doing is, and there are so many others also, that they're trying to fund them in a way that they, because they're part of our society, they don't want to come in on the front, and but they're trying to fund those people who apparently would look as there are people, but then they would try and jeopardize and do all the messy things to create havoc in those provinces funded by those people.
Absolutely. Let's move to the second segment, the hybrid regime. I would call it the shield between Pakistan and chaos. Would you agree or disagree?
I would partially agree with it because you have to understand that hybrid regime is an established concept of democracy given by the West.
By the West. So it is not something that we created.
It is not something that we created. It is a term probably which is coined and which is new for our part of the world. But hybrid regime and a hybrid democracy, which I'll explain how, is an established norm and concept which is prevalent in different parts of the world also.
Right.
As I earlier told you, 1/3 or 1/4 of the countries are hybrid regimes. And as per the 2020 economic index, out of 167, almost 54 countries have hybrid regimes. 53 or plus minus have the authoritarian regime.
Right.
27 have a flawed democracy. So it is a concept, and in case of Pakistan, we have to understand, unless we do not face the reality, unless we do not try and absorb what is going on, and instead of going in the background what has happened in the historical perspective, leave those things aside. But as of now, we got to have a hybrid system because our certain provinces and certain areas are pretty disturbed, where the military involvement is must. And once we move ahead, I'll explain you why I'm saying it, that hybrid regime is a concept which is relevant now. And secondly, you have to understand that, as a nation, what we do is that either we want a complete liberal democracy or we go towards the martial laws.
The extremes.
So we have to understand that there is a concept which is hybrid regime, and hybrid regime normally would transit to a liberal democracy, but it will take some time.
My next question to you. Over the years, if the civilian governments have repeatedly failed to deliver the stability which was expected, why should the military not step in to ensure national security?
Ideally, should not, I agree, because the ideal concept of democracy is that, the military should do its role. But unfortunately, in our country, we had these two systems of governance where democracy and then martial laws came in. My only argument to support this hybrid regime for the moment is, though it's not an ideal concept, but why do we want that, either it should be a complete liberal democracy right now, or then we should go for a martial law, which is an authoritarian rule. So we have to understand that our peculiar environment right now, where we have some massive threats from our western borders, from Afghanistan, from Iran, and where the Indian involvement is very extensive, and we have a lot of proofs for that. So that in those areas where the military has to play its role for having the writ of the government, so they must have the say, because if you do not give them the power, and you just give them the responsibility, so that won't work. In our case, we have to understand it as a concept. We have to go along with it, and gradually we will transit. So we just cannot straight away refute this, that we don't want to have this. So it is an ideal concept, but practically we'll achieve it in the days to come. So if we will gradually transit. So this is the reality of the day.
Can you name a single period when purely civilian governance gave us lasting stability? Anyone?
If I just recall, the history of Pakistan, I think there was hardly a civilian government which was actually a pure civilian government, which had the complete power. All of them actually had some involvement of the establishment. Although, if we just in the near history, if we see the 90s, the 90s decade. So even then, once we had tried this civilian democracy system, so every third year, we had issues, and the opposition parties, they aligned and they wanted to topple the government. So I don't think so any civilian government has worked. It should have worked, but it hasn't worked so far. Or I believe and I hope that it works, because I am pro-democracy, and I personally feel that in the times to come, in the civilized world, democracy is the only way of running a country, which is ideal. But idealism does not exist everywhere. We have to be realist. So right now we have to go with this hybrid regime, which somebody may agree or not, but we have to go with it, and we will hopefully, inshallah, transit. And answer to your question is that I do not recall any particular regime, the era of the civilian government where they delivered.
Right. Critics call hybrid governance undemocratic. But isn't sovereignty worth more than textbook definitions of democracy?
Very right. The most important thing is the sovereignty of the country. Now, if a system is not working, if a classic liberal democracy is not working in our country, and we just stick to it, because democracy is not just casting votes.
Right.
It goes on. It has to have the civilian rights. It has to have an independent organs of all the organs of the state should work independently, independent judiciary, independent media. So all these combined together, they become a liberal democracy. What I'm saying is that we will reach to that place, but in our country, in our environment, it will take time, and like most of the countries in the West, they also transited like this. So we have to understand that we will transit to that classic ideal liberal democracy, but if you ask that we should start implementing it right now, probably we're not ready for it.
Absolutely. It's a process of evolution.
It's a process of evolution, exactly.
Perfect. Segment 3, very interesting, KP and Balochistan, where I feel that unity, defense, and division kills. My first question to you: why does India deny RAW's involvement when we caught Kulbhushan Yadav red-handed?
Now, this is a very important point. I just want to explain to you a few things. Now, Indians claim that, Pakistan is involved in proxy wars in Kashmir, like we keep listening in the news, and that's what they keep saying. But on the other hand, have you ever imagined that we caught their serving naval officer Kulbhushan Yadav, probably in 2016, and there is still no denial from their side, and the world doesn't speak about it. He was a serving naval officer caught in Balochistan by our establishment agencies working against Pakistan. Secondly, I'd just like to add on. Now, recently, DG-ISPR gave recorded statements, recorded conversations of their serving officers in RAW and military talking to their agents here in Pakistan. The entire conversation was played in the press conference. And there's no denial. Nobody has refuted. The Indians haven't refuted the claims. look at the amount of the stubbornness by the Indians. And why can't we actually take up this case at the international level? That their serving officers are involved in the sabotage activities, terrorist activities in Balochistan in particular and Pakistan in general.
You tell me, why have you not been able to take this to the international media?
I think probably we need to have a more reach in the international media. And secondly, we have to understand there are certain issues which we need to hamper time and again. Like the Indians, they talk a lot about our proxy wars, our involvement in Kashmir. Have you ever heard after that conference from DGISPR somebody talking about those actually conversations which are recorded? No, we don't discuss those things.
Why is that so? Is the nation not interested, or is it just you and me
I
being
think
the few people who really want to talk about this?
I think it's just setting of priorities. We have to understand, we have to set the goals. We have to understand if it's a national cause, probably it doesn't serve the purpose of certain people in the media, so they don't want to talk about it. But if you see as a national cause, we must talk about it. I mean, what else do we need to tell the world? That their serving officer is caught? I mean, we have recorded statements of the serving raw and military officers talking to their agents here in Pakistan doing terrorist activities. What else do the world needs to know? And on the contrary, what they say in the Pahalgam is that they had certain chocolates from the terrorists which were Pakistani made.
That was
chocolates.
actually
That's the biggest proof and claim the Indians could ever come out about that Pahalgam incident.
So tell me, why are most of the Pakistani politicians silent over the role of India? Whose side are they on?
I would say that they're silent. By again, just like I said, I think there is a need to set the priorities. I mean, I don't think so. Any patriotic Pakistani would side Indians in any context when it comes to Pakistan and India. But it's just a matter of setting up priorities and making sure that you when it comes to India and Pakistan, you have to be united in those certain things where we may have political divide. We can have the political conversations here. We have issues in Pakistan, but as far as when India comes in, it's a common enemy. I think they should talk. And well, I cannot figure out why won't somebody should not talk about the Indian involvement in Pakistan or against India, unless he has some very personal reasons to justify that.
Right. The next question, very interesting. If the military pulls back, who secures the CPEC routes?
That's what I earlier told you. In case of Balochistan and KP, you understand the both provinces are disturbed for last many years now. Once you talk about CPEC, or we talk about the minerals or exploration or the oil explorations which we have in Balochistan, I would ask you a question, or the audience, that if I am Mr. XYZ, I own a company internationally, and I'm being told that there's a place in Pakistan named Balochistan, or in the plateau of Kohart we can have oil or gas reserves, and you have to go and rig them, and you have to invest. And what I see on the international media is that the bombs are exploding, and the people are disturbed, and they're actually they don't want to go there. Even the Pakistanis don't want to go there. I would never invest there. So unless you make peace in those areas,
true,
unless you make an absolute peace in those areas, or you give 100% guarantees to the companies who want to come and explore oil, they won't come. This is a fact. They don't have any love lost with Pakistan. They will only come if there's a peace. And in Balochistan and KPK, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Army and FC and other law enforcing agencies are fighting it out for last many years. And we hope that they actually eliminate those foreign elements which are there, which we name them as Khwarjis. Only then we can have some investments, foreign companies coming in Balochistan. Now, if you say that in these disturbed environments, CPEC would go on, which most of the countries who all don't want to make the CPEC a success, which is our lifeline, economic lifeline.
Who are those countries?
I think it is first of all India, and then I think even the Some Western countries, Americans would not like to have the CPEC as a success story because of the conflict with China. So primarily Indians would not like to have it working on behalf of the Americans. So we have to understand this thing. This is a fact.
And this actually is the next segment, the fourth segment, CPEC and Balochistan, Pakistan's treasure chest and target. So why is, in your point of view, CPEC constantly targeted by the terrorists?
It's very obvious. I mean, these terrorists, I think, are funded and they're working as proxies primarily for the Indians. And even I wouldn't shy away to say that even the Americans, because of the issues with the China, would not like CPEC to become a success story. And because for us it is an economic lifeline, and we have to make sure that it comes up as a success story for Pakistan. Only then we will have a breathing space for our economy. So it's very obvious. I mean this it's no hidden thing that who are against the CPEC.
Absolutely. Do you think China will keep investing if we cannot protect their projects?
No, that's very important because, like I earlier said, Chinese would certainly like to have an environment which is peaceful. I mean, their technical staff, their engineers, or their whatever staff is here working here, we have to protect them. I mean, but the best part is that the Chinese government, they're clear that whatever best the Pakistani government and the Pakistani military can do, that we are doing it. Had there been some doubts, Chinese would have rolled it back by now.
So you would agree it is a matter of national security,
It
right?
is a matter of national security. It is our economic lifeline. We have to understand. We have, and there is no other choice for us. We have to make it a success story.
It's the artery to our future?
It is our future. I mean, these oil exploration, like I just talked about it, if we have some oil reserves coming in our territorial waters, in Arabian Sea, or we have some in the plateau of Kohar, there's something coming up. So we have to give them make peace with our areas and our people, and so that the companies come in and we do that.
Absolutely. The fifth segment, very interesting, Indian-occupied Kashmir. If Kashmir is normal, why is it the most militarized zone on earth?
So Kashmir is normal. This is a statement by the Indians. Kashmir is not normal. Like I was talking to somebody, and I told him that do you know who controls the policing at the administration of Kashmir? I mean, there are elections just held, and Umar Abdullah is the chief minister, but he doesn't control the police there. He doesn't control the forces there. There's a lieutenant governor appointed by the federal government who controls the military and policing and administration of Indian-occupied Kashmir.
Right.
Because even the elected government is not empowered to implement law and order. So you can understand what is happening there. So with the force, with almost 600,000 plus military, which is our actually total military strength, is only in Indian-occupied Kashmir.
Right. Why does not India allow a plebiscite?
They would never, because like with the abrogation of 370, what they've done is that the independent statehood status of Indian Kashmir is no more there, which was promised by that Raja Hari Singh. That's what they joined. With those conditions they joined the Indians, but it's no more there now. So what they want is more Hindus coming in, settling in Kashmir. They want to change the demography of Indian Kashmir. More Hindus, you can understand, and then with the elections, the results would be different. So they would never want to have a plebiscite, because the people would want to stay with them. People are fed up with their military presence in Kashmir. And even now, on the 5th of August, there were huge rallies against the Indian federal government, where people went to the monument of the Raja Hari Singh, and they gathered there in hundreds of thousands. And they said that we want that revocation and abrogation of 370. We don't accept that. They're not accepting it. So that gives a clear idea of the sentiments of the Kashmiris. So with these sentiments, do you think Indians will go for a plebiscite? They would never.
Never. The last segment, Rapid fire, and I will not be getting this edited. Are you ready?
All right.
One word. Is India a state sponsor of terrorism?
For sure.
If Pakistan's army stepped back today, how many months before chaos?
I think I cannot give you a timeline, but I think their involvement right now is very important.
Is the UN just a spectator in Kashmir?
Spectator, I would call it a cheer girl. I mean, they're just cheering it.
Should Pakistan cut diplomatic ties with India until 370 is restored?
No, I don't agree with that. The diplomatic ties should go on. The ultimate solution is the dialogue where we can come to the solution of Kashmir.
Biggest internal threat, corrupt politicians or foreign spies?
I would add a few more, both in fact.
Has Pakistan lost more to war or propaganda?
Propaganda.
So as we're reaching the end of the show, what would you like to say about Field Marshal General Syed Asim Munir? And what would you like to say about the Pakistan Army?
I think the Field Marshal General Asim Munir, I think he has done some unprecedented things in starting from especially what happened with the India-Pakistan conflict, the war. We had an unprecedented victory against an enemy which is 6 times more, and there's no doubt about it that Army played and the Air Force played an amazing role in giving them a bloody nose. Secondly, the recent lunch with the American president, that was unprecedented in the American history also. You know, I always gauge things, what hurts actually the Indians the most. Now, the only discussion in the Indian media is that how could General Asim had a lunch with the American president? So that means if it is hurting them, for me, it is something to be proud of. Secondly, I think Army as an institution is doing great things. There could be some issues with the political parties and all that, but I think as an institution, we all must respect it. It still remains a center of gravity. And I hope that, we come out of this turmoil and issues which we are facing in Balochistan and KPK, and we move as a prosperous country, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you so much for joining, sir. It was an honor having you over at the podcast.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.